Please be seated. Welcome to the graduation recognition ceremony for the Executive MBA and Brookings Executive Education programs at Olin Business School. If I may hazard a phrase in Mandarin, Da Jia Hao. My name is Mark Taylor, and it is a great honour and a great privilege to say that I am the new Dean of the John M. Olin Business School. It is in particular a great honour to lead this great school into its centenary year. And I'm pleased that one of my first official duties as Dean is to preside over this ceremony. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to family and friends who are joining us via streaming online. Today, we celebrate the accomplishments of students from our executive programs based in St. Louis, Kansas City, Shanghai, and Washington, D.C. Graduates, soon to be graduates, at the present graduands, this day is a major milestone in your life and career and takes on additional significance this year as the business school celebrates its centennial. As members of Olin's centenary graduating class, you are making history as you become alumni of an institution with an important past and a very important future. To honour this occasion, each of your robes is adorned with a commemorative souvenir medal. I should also like to recognise at this point the graduands wearing red, white and blue honour cords today. They are military veterans. On behalf of the Olin community, I salute you and thank you for your service. Would those veterans please stand? Please join me in congratulating our veteran graduates. You are today becoming master's degree graduates of Washington University in St. Louis. This is a remarkable achievement for anyone, but it is especially impressive that all of the graduands here today have earned their degree through an executive program. Apart from the intrinsic merits of your program, an executive program is in many ways character building. I know the challenges of undertaking such a program firsthand, having completed an executive MBA myself at London University. I know the very significant challenges of balancing a very demanding job, family and friends, with the extreme demands of a part-time degree program. I have a great deal of pride in having met those challenges, and I hope that you will also be proud. It is also something that says a lot about you and your strength of character to any employer. And of course, family and friends will have played a great part in your achievements, in the support and understanding they will have given you. And I invite you now to show your appreciation through a very loud round of grateful applause. Graduations are a time of transition for all of us. The ancient Roman god Janus, depicted with two faces, one looking forward, the other to the past, comes to mind. Huge gates and arches were constructed in the Roman Forum to honour the god of beginnings and transitions. The arches of this beautiful chapel echo that theme, as do the collegiate Gothic architecture arches across the Washington University campus. And I would be remiss not to mention the soaring silver arch on the banks of the Mississippi River that welcomes all to St. Louis and serves as a ceremonial gateway to new beginnings and the western half of the United States. This gateway to the west represents the pioneering spirit of this country, when the western part of the continent represented the new frontier. Today, as both a resident of this city and this region, and as your dean, I see the arch not so much as a gateway to the west, but as a gateway to the world, a gateway that you are passing through today. As you prepare to begin a new chapter in your lives, let us take a few minutes to acknowledge those who passed through these archways before you. The first dean and founder of Washington University's Business School was a man named William Gephardt. Like me, he was a professor of economics. He was passionate about creating what was still considered a new academic field of study in 1917, It would combine the study of economics and finance with practical applications to commerce and industry. It would provide the managerial profession with a solid professional education and training, just as doctors and lawyers had enjoyed professional education and training in medical and law schools for centuries. In this project, William Gephardt had the help and support of Robert S. Brookings, another visionary WashU leader who moved the university to this campus at the turn of the 20th century, and who also founded what is now one of the world's leading social science research groups or think tanks, namely the Brookings Institution. With Brookings' support, Dean Gephardt launched his School of Commerce and Industry in 1917. The first graduate, in a class of one, emerged in 1919. By 1920, the graduating class numbered 9 men and 1 woman. Today, Olin Business School has more than 2,000 students pursuing 11 different degree programs. It is recognized among the best schools in the United States and indeed in the world, with university partnerships in India, Israel, South Korea, Singapore, Germany, Spain, and of course with Fudan University in China, as well as our partnership with the Brookings Institution in Washington, D.C. You are joining a global network of more than 20,000 Olin alumni. You, like those who have graduated from this great university before you, have been imbued with values that are at once regional and global. We pride ourselves in the Midwest on our strong ethical values, on our strong work ethic, on being kind and empathetic to others, on our practical and, one might even say, evidence-based approach to life. Indeed, Missouri is often called the show me state. As graduates of this great Midwestern university, I know that you will have been imbued with those values and that they will serve you well, that they will form the, if you like, the red Missouri granite bedrock of your career. But as graduates of Olin Business School, one of the world's leading business schools, you will also have been prepared to view the world on a global scale, whatever the nature or scale of the institution that you join or are part of, or that you will create. As you go out into the world, you will also need to apply your skills and the human capital that you have acquired with us to embrace and thrive upon change. You are graduating at an interesting time in the history of the world, a time when the usual models no longer apply, the usual rules no longer apply, in politics, in national economies, or in the global economy and financial markets. I was a managing director of a large global macro hedge fund during the financial crisis of 2007-2008, and I can tell you firsthand that something changed at that time. The usual models no longer applied, the usual rules no longer applied. A more flexible and creative approach was required in managing assets, in managing the economy, and that is still true today. The usual rules no longer apply. As we look around the world and consider the political landscape, it no longer looks familiar. In the East, the Middle East, in Europe, both continental Europe and the United Kingdom, and here in the United States, in the political arena, the world is far more unpredictable than it has been for many, many years. The usual models no longer apply. The usual rules no longer apply. It is important not to underestimate the gravity of the situation we face as citizens of the world. It is important to remember similar periods of great change in earlier times. Writing in the terrible aftermath of the First World War, the Irish poet William Butler Yeats wrote prophetically of the political unrest that was to arise in Europe and ultimately engulf the world in his poem, The Second Coming, which contains these lines: "The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity." I'd like to invite you to pause for a moment and consider those lines again. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. If you were to ask yourself whether these lines apply equally well to the world we live in today, what would be your response? What does that mean? What might be your remedy? I'm also reminded of the words of this nation's longest-serving president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Speaking in 1932 at a university commencement, at the height of the Great Depression, at a time of massive political uncertainty and upheaval, President Roosevelt also felt that the usual models did not apply, that the usual rules did not apply. He called for innovative ways of intervening in the world. The country needs, he said, and unless I mistake its temper, the country demands bold, persistent experimentation. It is common sense to take a method and try it. If it fails, admit it frankly and try another. But above all, try something. Those words of our 32nd president are still relevant today. But it is up to you, as the next generation of leaders, to navigate that disruption and change more creatively and empathetically than we managed 80 or so years ago. Economic historians are divided on the effectiveness of Roosevelt's New Deal. But what is known with certainty is that the great army of the unemployed of the 1930s only really dissipated when it transformed into the armies of another terrible world war. Today, unless I mistake its temper, the world demands change and the world generates change. The education you have received will equip you well to embrace and thrive within that change, as well as to work effectively for the common good within that change. The co-founder of our business school, Robert S. Brookings, put it succinctly when he said that the object of a Washington University education is to teach the art of handling problems rather than simply imparting accumulated knowledge. But the art of handling problems involves creativity and flexibility rather than entrenchment and force. It requires quiet conviction rather than passionate intensity. Earlier this week, I was given a gift by our friends and partners from Fudan University of this book, the Tao Te Ching, written in the 4th century before the Common Era by the Chinese philosopher Lao Tse. I was delighted to receive this thoughtful gift, as it is a work that I have admired for many years. And I would like to share with you today a few words from chapter 78 of the Tao Te Ching that dramatically illustrates how creativity and flexibility, even to the point of apparently yielding, can be employed to devastating effect. They are these words: nothing in the world is more flexible and yielding than water. Yet, when it attacks the firm and the strong, none can withstand it, because they have no way to change it. So the flexible overcome the adamant, the yielding overcome the forceful. Armed with your strong set of values and the strong human capital that each of you has acquired and developed in your education with us, you are well placed to navigate this changing and changeable world flexibly and creatively. At this critical juncture in your lives and across the globe, therefore, as you pass through this gateway to the world, your objective must be not to make your way in the world, but to remake the world that lies ahead of you. And we wish you well as you go forward, firm in the belief that you will succeed. Graduations are a time of pride and satisfaction for your professors too, and several members of faculty are here today to bear witness to your accomplishments. I would like to introduce them now. Please rise and remain standing as I say your name. Nick Argiers, Sam Chun, Hilary Anger Alfenbein, Daniel Alfenbein, Ron King, Jim Little, Glenn MacDonald, David Mayer, Ray Sparrow. Let me also take this opportunity to thank several of our key administrators, whom I also ask to stand as I call your name. Stuart Bunderson, Associate Dean and Director of Executive Programs. Lee Konzak, Academic Director of Executive Programs and the entire Executive Education staff. Stuart and Lee, please stand and be recognised. Critical to the Brookings Executive Education Programme, we have joining us today St. Louis-based faculty administrators Jackson Nickerson, the Associate Dean and Director of Brookings Executive Education, and Lamar Pierce, the Academic Director of the Master of Science in Leadership degree programme. Partners from Shanghai, please stand as I call your name. From Shanghai, we welcome Xiongwan Lu, Dean, School of Management, Fudan University. Paul Xiao, Executive MBA Programme Managing Director. Chen Zhang, Recruiting Director. Bing-Hu Han, Alumni and Student Affairs Manager. And we've already mentioned Jim Little, the Donald Danforth Jr. Distinguished Professor Emeritus of Business and Executive MBA Academic Director. It is now my very great privilege to invite Dean Xiongwan Lu to the lectern. In addition to serving as Dean of Fudan University's School of Management, Dean Liu is also the founding director of the Chinese Marketing Research Center at Fudan. His research in the fields of marketing and management has been widely published. He is very active in graduate education organizations in China, including serving as director on the GMAC board and as a member of the AACSB Asia Pacific Advisory Council. Please welcome our esteemed colleague, Dean Liu.
Thank you, Mark. Dear Chancellor Wrighton, my new colleague, Dean Taylor, dear colleagues from both schools, dear new graduates from this joint program, and all the family members, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. I feel highly honored to be present at this graduation ceremony. First of all, on behalf of the School of Management, Fudan University, I would like to extend my warmest congratulations to the Class 14 of the Washington University in St. Louis and Fudan University EMBA program. And equally, I also would like to extend my same congratulations to Class 46 of the St. Louis and the Kansas City EMBA program and all the other executive programs from Olin. As the world-leading universities, boasting centuries of history from China and the US, both Fudan and Washington University in St. Louis feel proud of the partnership since the very beginning of this destined journey. We share very similar academic portfolio as well as the scope of the faculty, students, and also we own the best medical schools and the best business schools in each country. This incredible alignment of the global vision made us to take the opportunity to start the EMBA program in Shanghai and the approval of the Ministry of Education of China 14 years ago, which also made a pioneer of EMBA education of China earlier than all the other Chinese universities. In addition, years of dedication from both faculty and also admin staff has today put this joint venture on top of the global platform. I'm so grateful and proud to be here with all the people who are or are not here today for the success and achievements of this joint program. I owe sincere acknowledgement, firstly, to all the Olin faculty for their flying all the way from St. Louis to Shanghai to teach. And also, I would like to give my thanks to Dean Stewart Greenbaum and Dean Zhu Kangzhen, in particular for their vision and leadership to launch this program 14 years ago. Also, I would like to give my thanks to my longtime friend, Dean Gupperton, who just stepped down recently and now is teaching in Shanghai. Among all those in my thank you list, I cannot miss my special gratitude to Professor Jim Little, who has shown his firm dedication and strong leadership, has been the academic director for over a dozen years. His involvement and contribution to the program and to both schools covers the interviewing the candidates, teaching the class, monitoring the opening ceremony, orientation, and also the graduation ceremony. Not to even to mention his strong support to, and also very good mentorship to myself over the years. Also, my special thanks also go to Chancellor Wrighton, who is present today at the ceremony, for his very instructive advice and also wise guidance, which have inspired and motivated us throughout our collaboration for so long time. Chancellor Wrighton has chosen for the outing the two excellent former deans, Dean Greenbaum and Dean Gupta, whom I worked with very constructively and very enjoyably. And I believe he also selected an equivalent excellent colleague, Dean Taylor, to work with from now on and also for next 10 years at least. Dean Taylor said he would like to keep this job at least for 10 years, probably for 20. Early this morning, I gave Dean Taylor a souvenir to congratulate on his new leading position in the United States. A double-side embroidery backgrounded upon Chinese tradition painting, two racing horses. Like a professional bowler is kind of the expert to know which one is the best horse for the racing. Chancellor Wrighton has exceptional ability to identify the good horse. Actually, Jim knows I was born in the year of horse. So that's a metaphor, and I wish I can work with Dean Taylor, another good horse discovered by Chancellor Wrighton, to open a new chapter for our collaboration for the long run. I also cannot agree more with what Dean Taylor just said. It's really true. I believe we are in the area of uncertainty with unpredictable future ahead of us as a consequence of a series of unpredictable events, such as the Brexit of the UK, the US presidential election, the career at this moment, the government turmoil, and also downturn of the Chinese economy. Therefore, the usual models as well as the usual rules do not apply for any longer. But also, it's also the opportunity for our students to apply what you have learned from classroom and also wisely respond to such challenges and difficulties with your creative solutions. When facing challenges and opportunities, your past school records, high pass or not, you debate on why the others have some ropes on the neck, but it doesn't matter much for the future. You may assume you will never take any exams after this graduation. Actually, it's not true. The truth is, you just started a new journey full of tests, exams, and competition right from today, with judges from your employees, your family members, your clients, your suppliers, and all the stakeholders in these industries, in your industries, and also in this society. That's why we call the ceremony, this graduate ceremony, as a commencement. I believe you will get tons of the high passes with one after another to build yourself a bright tomorrow, because you graduate from this top-notch program in the world. Talking back to the country which our partner belongs to, the United States, it's really a great country. When I was growing up with some sense of politics, I got to know this country openness, inclusiveness, to allow a farmer, an actor, a young man in his early 40s to become a US president. Now it is a businessman with very no political experience. So whether all those the truth, and so it is, there won't be any dream that you who graduate from these two great universities, they are not to pursue. As two American slogans say, nothing is impossible, and impossible is nothing. They best illustrate what areas you are living and also who you are. So when you, by the way, dear graduates, I also would like to say, when you run your business, you are not only manufacturing the products, delivering your services, but also you producing some intangible goods directly, indirectly. Both industry leaders and social citizens as you are actually producing the spiritual wealth via your business practice. You share your values, your beliefs by what goals you are pursuing, what products and services you are making, and also what strategy and rules you are adopting, and what contribution you are returning to the society. Your values through these conducts form the basis and the foundation of today's social civilization. Therefore, it's inevitably your responsibility to make the world much better as leaders of all walks of life. At the closing of the end of this year and also going forward to the new year with Christmas at the corner, I would like to say this should also be the moment of gratitude to all of you apart from family reunion. I encourage you to thank those who give you knowledge, friendship, wealth, kindness in your life. It's not only the IQ, EQ, the grades, but also a big heart of inclusiveness and gratitude that move our society forward. To express our gratitude has become part of the leadership and what a person with all rounds qualities needs to own and cherish. I would like to take this liberty on behalf of you to thank all the teachers, all the family members for their enormous support to you. And thank you, our classmates, for their friendship, which is your lifetime asset and wealth. May all of you and your families a great future and happy life. May those who are not still in the journey of looking for Mr. or Mrs. Right succeed. May those who have already lucky enough to find your partner have as many children as possible. Good luck to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Liu. I mentioned earlier the visionary WashU leader, Robert S. Brookings. The remarkable strength and continuity of Washington University leadership is a tradition that has continued over the years, and which has been exemplified over the past near half-century, first by the great William Danforth, Chancellor of this university for 26 years, and also by WashU's present leader for the past 21 years, Chancellor Mark S. Wrighton. It is therefore a special honour to have Chancellor Wrighton with us today. Chancellor Wrighton came to Washington University in 1995 from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he was Provost and Professor of Chemistry. He earned his PhD from the California Institute of Technology and has received many awards for his research and scholarly writing, including the distinguished MacArthur Prize. Chancellor Wrighton is committed to teaching and research, and during his tenure here, Washington University has made unprecedented progress in student quality, faculty research, campus development, and international reputation. Please welcome Mark S. Wrighton, the 14th Chancellor of Washington University.
Thank you, Dean Taylor. Dean Liu, thank you for the impressive commitment you have made to being our partner. Dean Liu comes to St. Louis on this occasion, for this occasion, and he will return tomorrow morning to Shanghai. He's been an exceptional leader at Fudan's School of Management, and we're grateful for this wonderful partnership. As was noted by Dean Liu, our partnership with Fudan University now extends more than 14 years. It was in the spring of 2002 that we launched this important and very rewarding partnership. We now have over 700 alumni of our program, and Shanghai is a stronger city as a consequence of the educational program that you now have received and many before you have received. The partnership has been inspiring, and as this program unfolded, we wondered, if we can do this in Shanghai, why not just 250 miles away in Kansas City? And so now we have a strong relationship with our sister city, Kansas City, and we've also partnered in Denver, Colorado. And of course, as you now know, we have the Brookings Center for Executive Education, and we'll be recognizing a graduate of our Master of Science in Leadership program this afternoon. These are important programs. Each is characterized by drawing to our educational program people who have the potential to be even greater leaders, people who are extremely busy in their lives professionally and with their families. I'm especially grateful that you chose to take part in this executive EMBA program and in the Master of Science in Leadership. It represents an extraordinary commitment on your part, and my faculty colleagues here at Washington University and at Fudan University have done their part in preparing you for lives of meaning and purpose. We've added, I trust, to the considerable potential that you join this program with, and I look forward to following your contributions as your careers unfold. To all of our graduates, congratulations on your achievement. To your family and friends, thank you for your support and encouragement, and I very much welcome the opportunity to interact with you as the future unfolds. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for this important graduation ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor Wrighton. Our keynote speaker today is Mark Trudeau, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Mallinckrodt Pharmaceuticals. Mr. Trudeau's career in the pharmaceutical industry includes executive positions at the sector's top companies, Eli Lilly, Abbott Labs, Bristol Myers Squibb, Bayer and Covidien. Please join me in welcoming Mark Trudeau.
Well, thank you very much, Dean Taylor, for that wonderful introduction. Thank you to Chancellor Wrighton, the Olin Business School faculty, the EMBA Business School graduates, family, friends that are here celebrating their achievements, the visiting students from Fudan University, Ni Hao Ma. I must say that I'm truly honored to have the opportunity to speak to all of you, and I trust my invitation here had nothing to do with the fact that my first name happens to be Mark, which is shared by both the Chancellor and the new Dean. But I did want to just take a minute and spend a bit of time talking to you about a couple of pieces of information that I hope will resonate with all of you. You spent a lot of time working on the next phase of your development and your careers, and I think it's important for us to think about a concept called legacy. It may be an interesting one to think about because you're just about embarking now on a new path and starting to think already about what you're going to leave behind, that being the concept of legacy, may seem a little strange, but bear with me for a minute. To frame the concept of legacy, I want to pose a couple of questions to all of you. First question, and this was coined by Professor Clayton Christensen in his 2010 address to the Harvard Business School graduates. He asked a fundamental question, and the question was, how will you measure your life? And he challenged his listeners to turn all those same analytical and theoretical tools that they'd acquired in their business education and look inside, look at themselves, and ask and answer some penetrating questions about what does it mean to be happy, to be successful, to use one's gifts to contribute to society, and to take those answers through the introspection and think about a meaningful life strategy. And that approach has really resonated with me, that concept of how do you measure your life. And I'd like to add 2 questions to that. One would be, how are you going to make a difference? And the last one being, what is the legacy that you plan to leave? So a legacy that one can be proud of certainly doesn't happen by accident. It's something that you earn literally in the daily grind of trying to use all the talents and gifts that you have to the best of your ability. And its foundations really lie in those look in the mirror moments, those times when you're accounting your own personal value. And, sometimes you don't even recognize that we're actually accountable for things that are more important than our self-interest. And this particular approach, again, really has been meaningful to me over my life. My personal mantra has been make a difference. To be honest, it started out in a very selfish way. It was all about how am I going to make a difference in my own life? How am I going to get ahead? How am I going to be successful? But what I found through the course of my career is it steadily got larger. It started out about family. It started about coworkers. It started about employees. And it continued to extend to whole communities to the point now that I've really begun to think about how do we make a difference in the societies in which we live and the lives of those folks that are less fortunate than we are. And I've started to embark personally on some charitable endeavors, including making a difference in the lives of people with mental illness and diseases like autism. So Benjamin Franklin once wrote, he said, if you would not be forgotten as soon as you're dead and rotten, either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. And many of us may not be as well remembered as Franklin is as history progresses, but it doesn't mean we can't influence the course of history. We can aspire to be amongst those who truly do something. So what we do with our skills, what choices we make, has the potential to significantly impact and improve lives. Hopefully that's been part of what's carried you through in your personal sacrifices that you've undertaken to pursue investment in your own development through your EMBA. I've been very fortunate in my life to be involved in an industry for over 30 years now that is focused on creating innovations that make a difference in the lives of people that are less fortunate, particularly people that have some very challenging diseases. It's really how I've chosen to embark upon my life's work. And I wanted to share just a couple of simple facts with you that hopefully will give you some hope. Let's talk about some of the things that we can do regarding healthcare around the world as a result of innovations through the pharmaceutical industry and other parts of healthcare. If we look at cardiovascular disease, this used to be the biggest killer of people in the U.S. And over the course of the last decade, cardiovascular deaths, deaths due to cardiovascular disease have dropped almost 40%. If we think about HIV and AIDS, we've seen nearly an 85% drop in deaths from AIDS since its peak in 1995. And I can tell you, as part of my career, I was involved in some of the early development of some of the early products to treat this devastating disease. And essentially what we've been able to do is take a diagnosis that at one point was a death sentence and turn it into a manageable chronic disease. And as a result, we have people like Magic Johnson who are still with us. And had Freddie Mercury, the dynamic singer of the band Queen, been diagnosed just a decade later, more than likely he'd still be with us today, and we'd still be hearing the strains of Bohemian Rhapsody. This is just one example of many, many, many stories that you can tell, but I want to tell one more that's just a little bit personal, and that's regarding cancer. There's been a 23% drop in cancer death rates since their peak in the early 1990s. And it's almost entirely due to innovative drug therapies developed by the pharmaceutical industry. Today, 2 out of 3 patients diagnosed with cancer are living at least 5 years after their diagnosis. In fact, my own daughter was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia just last year. 10 years ago, this form of leukemia had the highest mortality rate of all types of cancer. Yet today she's in remission. And it's the result of significant innovation in pharmaceuticals and lots of concerned people in healthcare that has turned this once most deadliest form of cancer into one of the most curable. So these and many healthcare innovations are actually leading to people living longer, healthier lives. There's been a 15% increase in life expectancy in the U.S. for both men and women since the 1950s, and it means that people are now living more productive lives at least 10 years longer than they did back in the 50s. And I'm very proud of the company that I lead, Mallinckrodt, because we're forging our own legacy by focusing on challenging diseases across a range of therapeutic areas, including infants with life-threatening respiratory conditions, adults and children with immunologic disorders, and patients with severe burns. So let's turn to your legacy. What's your legacy going to be? What do you need to do to attain it? Who is it going to impact? And how will you live up to Franklin's challenge to do something and make a difference? Let me leave you with just 4 brief things to think about as you wrestle with these important questions. First, recognize that your legacy is typically going to be built by working with, not against others. In fact, others help you amplify your legacy. There's some temptation sometimes early in your career that you may view colleagues as competitive threats or merely the means to achieve your own advancement, and I'll admit I was in that category. It's rare, though, to find someone with a great legacy who didn't do it by empowering others. So invest in the people around you. Surround yourself with the absolute best people you can find. There's no need to think of success as a zero-sum game where somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. As I tell my own children, with all the opportunities that we have in front of us, you can focus on running your own race, but recognize that you can enable others to be successful simultaneously. A good leader is only as strong as the people that he works with, and our 6th president, John Quincy Adams, said this quite well. He said, if your actions inspire others to dream more, to learn more, to do more, and become more, you're a leader. We each have 24 hours in a day. We have choices to decide what we do with that time. Our energy is finite. But if we actually link arms with each other and motivate each other around a shared purpose, we can achieve unbelievable successes and solve problems that just a few years ago seemed insurmountable. The second point is don't be afraid of failure. Fundamentally, you're not going to be able to achieve great things unless you're willing to fail. Just to give you an example from my own industry, there are about 7,000 drugs currently in development. Most of these drugs will fail. They won't make it to the marketplace. In fact, less than 12% of drugs that enter humans and enter clinical testing typically don't make it to the marketplace. They die in the clinic, they die in the lab, and many, many more never even make it to the clinic. But fundamentally, our greatest advancements in innovation are often built on earlier failures. And legacies worth claiming are earned by those who risk much and who learn from their mistakes. And here, Teddy Roosevelt, his words, I think, are very, very apropos. He said, it's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how a strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood. You can hear Teddy in these words, right? Who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there's no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst If he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. Third, be willing to be accountable to yourself and others who are depending on you and expecting big things from you. Step forward when others step back. Let me give you a personal anecdote. At one point in my mid-career, I was running a business in Europe. I was running the operations in the UK. And I was thinking about how I was going to develop my own career. And one of the things that I was very interested in doing was moving to Asia Pacific, getting some experience in the developing world, experiencing China and India. And this was a very big job that suddenly came available. And I put my hand up and said, I'd like to go there and run that business. And, I thought I had done a pretty good job and I might be a candidate, but it was such a huge step forward that it was unlikely in my mind that I was going to be selected. Surprisingly, I got selected for the job and I was feeling really good about myself. Pretty special. I'm on the road to fast-track success. It was only after the fact that I realized the reason I got the job is I was the only one who put my hand up and stepped forward to go do it. And I can tell you that experience was transformational in my career because it was the first time I had an opportunity to run a business outside of the developed world and understand how healthcare is treated in various different portions of the world. And had I not stepped forward, my career trajectory could have been much, much different. So if you're going to build a legacy worth celebrating, find ways to regularly hold yourself accountable and pursue forms of accountability with others that will keep you on a trajectory and a course. Volunteer. Take on a challenge. Find ways to stand out from your peers. Finally, recognize that legacies are typically minted not when things are going well, but when they're going poorly, and sometimes really poorly. If you step forward, make a difference, and change the trajectory, that's where your legacy starts. Abraham Lincoln had a great example for this. He once said, "I walk slowly, but I never walk backward," in describing his approach to the incredibly complex challenges that he was facing in his day. But I want to leave you with one very contemporary example of this spirit. It comes from someone you may have never heard of. I recently met a woman named Alison Levine. She's one of very, very few people in the world who has trekked to both the North Pole, the South Pole, as well as successfully summiting the 7 summits, which are the tallest peaks on each one of the continents. And she also scaled Mount Everest in 2010 after failing once in 2002 when she was part of the first American female team to attempt the Everest summit. And as you might imagine, you typically don't scale Mount Everest by showing up at base camp and walking up and walking down in one day, because in fact, if you try to do that, you'll die pretty quickly. Instead, what you do is you go up a bit and you come back down. You go up a bit more and you come back down. You give your body a chance to acclimatize. And after going up and back, then you make the final sprint for the summit. And if you're fortunate enough, you get to the top. So Alison described this in a way that really resonates to me. She said, "Recognize that backing up is not the same thing as backing down." I want you to think about that. Recognize that backing up is not the same thing as backing down. And why is that appropriate today? I'd expect that many of you have made some sacrifices in investing in your EMBA program. Maybe you put your career on hold. Maybe you've had to make some tough choices in your work-life balance. Maybe you've even had to pass up promotions. But essentially, you've had to make some choices where maybe you've actually had to back up a little bit, but you certainly haven't been backing down. And in fact, just the opposite. I would argue that you've positioned yourself now to start to reach new heights as you begin to build your own legacy. So I started this talk by posing a couple of questions. Talked about legacy, I talked about making a difference, I talked about how are you going to do something in your life that makes a difference. And you've heard from a lot of folks here that have that spirit, that legacy building spirit, exemplified by Franklin, by Roosevelt, Adams, Lincoln, and by Alison Levine. So as you leave tonight, there's only one thing that you remember from what I've said. No matter how complex or how thorny the problems that you have facing yourself, either in your business, your community, your country, your world, if you commit yourself daily to thinking about how you can personally make a difference in whatever you find yourself doing, then together I believe we can create great communities and a better world for generations to come. I think that would be a legacy for all of us to celebrate. Thanks to all of you and best wishes on your graduation.
Thank you, Mr. Trudeau, for your remarks. And as a token of appreciation, I just invite you to come forward again, just so I can present you with this plaque. And it says, Dean's Honour, presented to Mark Trudeau in sincere appreciation of your keynote address at the Executive Programme's graduation recognition ceremony for Kansas City, St. Louis, Shanghai, Washington, D.C., December the 9th, 2016. I now invite Professor Jim Little to the lectern for the presentation of the C. William Emery Awards.
I am honored to present the C. William Emery Award. Bill Emery was a longtime faculty member of the Olin School and was also the founding director of our EMBA program. And I think had we not had Bill and we not had his energy, we wouldn't have the EMBA program that we have today. Moreover, Bill was very globally oriented. He had great experience teaching in Korea in the 1950s and 1960s. And he made sure from the beginning of the EMBA program that we had a global orientation. And in fact, we traveled to Asia with Class 1 and have continued that through all 46 classes, and it led us in a way to founding the program in China. Now, the Emery Award is awarded to the graduating executive MBA student who, in the opinion of the faculty and administration, best exemplifies the qualities of scholarship, character, and leadership, and enjoys the respect, admiration, and affection of his or her classmates. With all EMBA classes, including Class 14, it's difficult to choose someone to receive the award because there are always a lot of worthy candidates. For Class 14, though, I think one person stood out, and that person was Morgan Yu. Now, I want to tell you a bit about him before he comes up here and why we thought he deserved the award. He obviously had an outstanding academic record, but perhaps more importantly, he was the class's chief knowledge officer. And the class chose him for that position back at the beginning of the program. So they obviously saw something immediately in him. But I think a better title for him would have been the Chief Learning Officer, because what Morgan really did was promoted the remarkable collaborative learning that we saw in Class 14. He organized group study sessions, he helped organize the student forum, and he really promoted the idea that we learn from each other and we respect one another and really served in a leadership role and made the whole academic experience that much better. I also want to briefly mention his company. He works for a company called Mettler Toledo, who have been, over the years, wonderful supporters of our EMBA program. You may not know the company very well, but you use their products every week or maybe even every day. When you weigh your vegetables get weighed at the grocery store, that's a Mettler Toledo scale. When your suitcase gets weighed at the airport, that's a Mettler Toledo scale. So you know their products, and their company has been terrific for the program. So I'm honored to present the Emory Award to Morgan Yu. And now I'd like to invite Professor Stuart Bunderson to the stage to present the Emory Award for Class 46.
Thank you, Jim. Well, it is my honor to present the C. William Emory Award to our Executive MBA, St. Louis, Kansas City, Class 46. As Jim noted, this award recognizes one student who stood out for us as a faculty in their scholarship, in their character, and in their leadership. As anyone who has had the privilege of interacting with Class 46 will know, will recognize, it was extremely difficult for us as faculty to select to select just one student from Class 46 who could receive this award. This class truly stands out. I was talking to several faculty members even this morning as we were gathered together preparing for this event, and several faculty members volunteered how much they had grown to love and respect the students in Class 46 and how much they would miss these wonderful students. And yet, we as a faculty had to, at the end of the day, decide who would be the recipient. And we couldn't. We ended up deciding on two. We had a tie. So we actually ended up with two students from Class 46 who will receive this award. These two students stood out in terms of their desire to learn, their willingness to engage class discussions, and perhaps most notably in their leadership in the classroom. And so it is my honor and privilege to award the C. William Emory Award for St. Louis, Kansas City, Class 46 to Dave Fischbach and Rochelle Scott. So if you could both come on up, we'll...
Thank you, Professor Little and Professor Bunderson, and my congratulations to our Emory Award recipients. I would now like to introduce Executive MBA Shanghai Class 14 graduate and class graduand and class speaker, Morgan Yu. As Professor Little pointed out, Morgan is the General Manager of Product Inspection at Mettler Toledo in China. Morgan graduated from Shanghai Jiao Tong University with a master's degree in electrical engineering and a bachelor's degree in telecommunications. He has enjoyed a long career and rich experience in marketing, sales and business development in the packaging equipment industry. And now he is managing R&D and manufacturing functions. Please join me in welcoming Morgan Yu.
catch the microphone. Class 14, 14, 14. Chancellor Wrighton, Dean Liu, Mr. Trudell, Jim, faculty members, family and friends, and fellow graduates, good afternoon. It is my great honor to stand here on behalf of our Class 14 to speak today. It is also our honor, Class 14, to be here in St. Louis campus, celebrating our graduation, a very important moment of our lives. We would like to use this chance to give our sincere appreciations to all the faculty members in Fudan and also Olin Business School who have helped us along the learning journey. This is also a good moment that we would like to deliver our sincere appreciations to our classmates that we support and help each other. This is also a good moment for us to deliver our sincere appreciation to our family members who stand by us and helped us for passing the 18 months. And I would also like to give some special thanks to some of our friends who traveled a long distance to be here to join our this ceremony and share our happiness today. Recalling back, I could still remember when I was stepping into the program interview. That was in the Fudan, and Ms. Zhang Chen guided me into the 7th floor Shidai row, which is a small secret chamber. And Paul was there, and Mr. Xu, Professor Wang, and Bunderson. And it was just a last-minute interview, just like a dating or something. I was thinking, well, what she looks like. Bottom line for me is I do not try to screw it up from my side. The self-introduction part went well. One of my questions is, well, how long is your program? 18 months was the answer. But standing by here now, by recalling the millions tiny little things, when you added them all up, it just meant we were supposed to be together. I could say now that I knew it. I knew it the very first time I touched her. I was just taking her hand out of her car. I knew it. It was like magic. The magic journey started then, 18 months. And the 18 months passed very quickly. And we're here today in St. Louis. However, the journey does not end. It is really our new beginning for a lifelong partnership of learning and growing to be a better person. We learned from the course, the professors, co-teachers, and many of us are coming with some certain individual strengths of certain areas. The curriculum helped us to pick up the missing pieces and putting them block by block into a greater, higher building in a systematic way. It is an executive MBA program different from many other that we can find in China, that we need to work really, really hard, and a lot of readings, pre-assignments, calculations, presentations, quiz, and also final exams. We learned advanced academic knowledge and insights from both top US and China professors and thought leaders. We also learned from each other, our classmates, our alumni. It is a class of full diversities, different industries, different functional backgrounds, different country of origins, different splendid experiences and knowledge bases. Not only our class 14, we also get chance to learn and knew more people. For example, we have an Olim grand family and other Chinese EMBA programs as well. We also have in Gobi runner group. Fudan and Olim bring us together onto one platform. We learned and benefit from each other with all the different perspectives, backgrounds, and those enriched our knowledge bases, lightening our views into the future, helping us to understand that there are logic behind the complex uncertainties of the surface. There are always more potential for us to reach. I can still remember the team buildings, classes, group discussions, birthday parties, joggings together, dinner with wines and beers, bring us all together more closely. Our classmates, professors, faculty members are becoming closely and trustworthy friends. When we look at ourselves today, we found ourselves have been further developed. We could now proudly call ourselves the graduate students of Fudan and Washington Olim Business School. Heart and thread, pen and gains, many of us have been already loaded with more business responsibilities. Some of us have explored new opportunities in his or her careers. Some of us have chosen to be new entrepreneurs. Even if we might face some uncertainties, some difficulties not in our favor, but we could now be more confident to deal with. All of us are now more capable and confident of taking more challenges and opportunities. We are now better person. Thank you, Fudan. Thank you, Washington University Olim Business School. Thank you, my dear faculty members, classmates, family members, and the friends coming over here for a long distance to join this ceremony. In the past, we took care and support with each other. Let us to be more closely connected to build bridges between us. We are the one with the knowledge, characters, and leadership skills who could create much more values for ourselves, for our workplace, and our society, to be a better man and a woman. Thank you all. I would now have the honor to present the Reed Teaching Award to 3 instructors who have had a tremendous impact on our Class 14 cohort. The Reed Teaching Award are presented by the graduating executive MBA classes to the professors whose enthusiasm and exceptional teaching most inspire, energize, and transform our students. On behalf of Class 14, we are proud to present a Reed Teaching Award to Professor Stuart Bunderson. And we are also pleased to present a Reed Teaching Award to Professor Jackson Nixon. Last but not least, we are pleased to present a Reed Teaching Award to Professor Lamar Pierce. Thank you all.
Thank you, Morgan. It is now my privilege to introduce our speaker for the St. Louis and Kansas City classes, Jim McCool, Executive Vice President and CFO of Bunzl North America. As a global distribution and outsourcing group with headquarters in London, chances are many of us here today will have benefited from Bunzl's services indirectly. Jim has been with Bunzl for 16 years on the finance side, where last year's reported revenue of £6.5 billion sterling, or about 8.2 billion US dollars, must have kept him reasonably busy while juggling classes and team meetings with his executive MBA classmates. Please welcome Jim McCool.
Thank you, Dean Taylor. Chancellor Wrighton, Dean Liu, Mr. Trudeau, faculty, staff of Olin, our family and friends, and especially my colleagues from Washington, Shanghai Class 14, and St. Louis, Kansas City Class 46. Officially, we began our journey 20 months ago, but for many of us, it began well before we were introduced to Olin and its energetic recruiter/stalker, Edie Varley. We each came into the program for varying reasons and with different goals: build our resumes, improve our business acumen, expand our network. We also came in thinking we were strong negotiators. For before we even committed to the program, we negotiated with ourselves, our families, our companies, perhaps a few loan officers, about the investment that we would make in this program. What we failed to realize is that you have very little leverage when what you are negotiating are the terms of your unconditional surrender. And surrender we did. First, Go Week. Take 41 competitive professionals, most meeting for the first time, break them down to 8 teams, have them work deep into the night for a solid week on cases and building their team dynamic. Throw in an inadvertent text, mix in some alcohol, perhaps a bit more than some at times. Then have them competitively negotiate with one another over the value of audio products or a gas station. How could that possibly go wrong? As the negotiations wore on and voices became raised, I found myself channeling Tom Hanks in A League of Their Own. Are you crying? There's no crying in Go Week. Yeah, I quote Tom Hanks when everyone else is quoting presidents. The intensity of Go Week may have faded a bit with time, but the bonds formed that week would become the foundation of our work and growth over the next 20 months and will sustain us as a cohort forever. We surrendered again just a week ago, our last class weekend, with a memorable China experience, including a wonderful visit with our Class 14 colleagues, and our presentations behind us. We were ready to coast to the finish line. Not so fast. We were presented with a capstone exercise to act as consultants for a nonprofit organization, RX Outreach, tasked with helping them overcome a budget shortfall and helping to further their mission to provide affordable prescription drugs for the underinsured across America. Finally, after 20 months, a live case and helping an organization in need as well. You could feel the engagement level rise across the colleagues. Then the twist. This would be a competition. with the winners selected by RX Outreach Management. Wash U mugs were on the line. Game on. Now, I would love to tell you that the newfound intensity level was all about supporting a worthy cause, but having lived through our epic kickball match against EMBA 48, I knew better. When the presentations were over and the winners crowned, we were again left drained, and still we had to hang on for another few hours and final exercises. As is tradition, we were offered the opportunity to say a few words to our peers and to reflect on our time together. What followed was at times poignant, funny, awkward, and challenging. And that was just from Andy Bridgman. But at all times it was raw, and apparently crying would not be limited to Go Week. We had surrendered yet again, but it was clear that in our surrendering we had won. Certainly we learned about net present value, the 4 Ps, the 5 forces, the prisoner's dilemma, competing values, and most importantly, that break even is for losers. We even learned that having too much beer inventory could actually be a bad thing, Mike. We did build our resumes, we did improve our business acumen, and we certainly expanded our networks. But in the 20 months together, we shared far more than case studies and presentations. We shared a lifetime worth of experiences. As a group, we endured loss, we celebrated new life, we saw relationships end and watched as many new and stronger ones grew in their place. There were jobs lost and found, promotions cheered, and yes, even a brief deportation to contend with. There were pats on the back, kicks in the butt, but through it all, whether in private or as a group, the foundation we built provided a stabilizing force and support for one another's growth. We began as 41 professionals and 8 teams, but we had become one team. As with any great team, there's a tremendous support network which allows it to excel. The support we have received from the Olin community, both academically and administratively, our coworkers, our friends, and most especially our families, has been amazing and nothing short of a high pass. Thank you for your support, your love, and allowing us this time to grow. Many of us expressed regret that what we had found in the program, the camaraderie, the constant push to challenge and stretch ourselves, the afternoon candy jars, would fade with the program ending. It's certainly not easy to replicate the raw intensity of Go Week or our final weekend and the impact it had on building that one team. In front of you all sit tremendous current and future leaders. The talent in these cohorts is exceptional and crosses all disciplines. We might not all make $11 billion, all right? But we will make tremendous impacts as entrepreneurs, innovators, disruptors, C-suite executives, cutting-edge medical professionals, and perhaps even a TV star. We started the program with goals and we largely achieved those goals, but more importantly, we gained a purpose and we had a great time along the way. As leaders, it is our responsibility to ensure that the purpose we gained here does not end here. As Morgan said, today is a beginning, not an ending. We must build new cohorts, engage with them deeply, push each other to grow, rebuild when we fall short, and importantly, celebrate our wins. And as we were reminded last week, this applies not only to our professional life, but to our families and friends as well. As alumni, we now have a special responsibility to stay connected to one another, but also to the Olin program and to support the current and future EMBA cohorts by sharing not only our program experiences, but the wealth of experiences we have in front of us. I am honored to be part of Olin in these graduating classes, and I will watch with great pride as these cohorts take their rightful seat at the global leadership table. I know we will do so with a strong voice, the inquisitive mind, the open heart, and the competitive spirit that has come to embody Class 14 and EMBA 46. Stuart, you'll be presenting the graduates, correct? For EMBA 46? It's pronounced Lee. Thank you all and congratulations. I now have the honor to present the Reed Teaching Awards to two instructors who have had a tremendous impact on the EMBA 46 cohort. The Reed Teaching Awards are presented by the graduating executive MBA classes to the professors whose enthusiasm and exceptional teaching most inspire, energize, and transform our students. On behalf of EMBA Class 46, we are proud to present a Reed Teaching Award to Professor Sam Chun. Right. Congratulations. We are also pleased to present a Reed Teaching Award to Professor Glenn McDonald. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim and Morgan, for your remarks and for presenting this year's Reed Teaching Awards. So, it is finally the moment we've all been working and waiting for, the presentation of our candidates. At this time, I would like to invite Jackson Nickerson to the lectern and Chancellor Wrighton to the stage to present our candidate for the Master of Science in Leadership.
Good afternoon. Brookings Executive Education is a partnership between the Brookings Institution and Washington University in St. Louis. Both institutions have a common benefactor in Robert S. Brookings, and it was his dream in the early 1920s to launch a program to help government executives tackle and solve the wicked problems of government. To that end, the Olin Business School launched 7 years ago the Masters of Science in Leadership. Now, we've had our first 9 graduates. Today we have our 10th, but he's flying solo. So please join me in welcoming Jerry Stoddard to the stage.
It is now my pleasure to invite Dean Liu, Stuart Bunderson and Paul Shao to join me in the presentation of the Executive MBA candidates.
义乌、华语、荣辉王、安成田、严叶毛、郭祥良、
Michael Patterson. Elizabeth Joy Sheely. Donna Marie Sarders. Kathleen Elizabeth McCoy. Timothy Michael Rooney. Craig Austin Hamby. James Anthony McCool.
Bu Kwang Chong, 点志阳，超虚，卡春后，林建珠。建屋，
Kathleen Mary Lenzini. Nathan Mark Hack. Charles Richard Aylesworth. Stephen W. Coolin. Douglas Stephen Pernikoff. Stuart R. MacArthur. Kevin Daniel Buechler.
Evelyn Yun Wu， 方任，包照，Christopher Fang， 德才王，黄杰希，
Andrew J. Bridgman. Neri Manuel Echeverria Reyes. Eugene Lights. Christopher Blair Hinson. Corey Robert Waldman. Lee Bichard. Praveen Raju Chenna.
Tao Chen, Chen Yingchuan, Andrea Palandi, Tiara Razizani, Dong Xu Ying, Nicolas Sigluna,
John J. Byer. Amy Dean Parker. Timothy Michael Carmen. Bingxi Li. Bradley Aaron Patton. Antoinette M. Jackson. Durga Nagaswara Rao Param.
Sunny Liu Hui, Miao Lei, Xiao Gangjing, Sarah Sadalaya, Davide Acolonel,
David John Fishbach. Chad Winston Gannon. Christian Scott Moore. Candace Dion Gagel. Sarah Louise Shipley. Keely Moore. Rochelle Denise Scott.
Tian Ying, Yu Li, Pan Li, 陈畅、杨丽文、建林宇、张康玉、
Janice Lee Maxwell Renfro. Donald John Halpin. Lorraine Mercurio. Michael Barry Johnson. Jeff Crean. Adelson Ferreira.
So, our graduation recognition ceremony is now nearing conclusion, and I have just a few further words. At the conclusion of the ceremony, please wait for the stage participants to recess, and then please follow us to Knight Hall and Bower Hall for a reception. So, graduates, I look forward to watching your careers flourish, to getting to know you as active alumni who return often to campus to share your experiences and to help recruit the next generation of Olin graduates. Finally remains for me to say, first in Mandarin, Gongxi, Gongxi. Congratulations, graduates. Go out and remake the world.